Hello and welcome to another Albion Online Dev Talk. Today I'm looking forward to introducing the changes that are coming with GVG Season 7 and talking a little bit about the roadmap beyond Percival. Please note that you can find a detailed description of the GVG Season 7 changes following the links in the description below. Now let's get started by taking a closer look at GVG Season 7. When we set out to plan the changes, we had two primary goals in mind. One, we wanted more players to be able to contribute to their guild's success in the season through a wider range of activities. And two, we wanted to limit the power of a few guilds to completely dominate the season and give a chance for more guilds to compete in the season and have meaningful objectives. To achieve our first goal, which was to have more players contribute, we're introducing guild challenges. Guild challenges are effectively adventurer challenges for guilds. Guilds will have challenge point objectives that they will have to meet, and every player in the guild who's participating in PvE activities like killing mobs, farming, gathering, fishing, will contribute challenge points to the guild, and when the guild meets their challenge point objectives, they will be paid out in season points. To make this transparent and interesting, there's a ranking system so you can see what player contributed how many challenge points for the guild and basically how many season points they generated for your guild. This system really should make it possible for all players to contribute to your guild's success, even if you're not a PvP-focused player. To achieve our second goal, which was to limit the ability of a few guilds to dominate the season so much, we are introducing a number of different changes. First off, we're introducing castle outposts. Castle outposts are essentially smaller castles. They are capturable like castles, they reward season points every day like castles, and they have loot chests that you can win on the weekends like castles. They're 4 times more common than castles, but they only have a quarter of the reward of castles. So essentially what they're doing is they're giving medium-sized guilds a better chance to compete for a castle-like objective, because the large fights will be forming around the big castles, while smaller fights will be forming around the outposts, the castle outposts. And since the attack times are synchronized, the large guys can't compete with over the smaller outposts, and therefore there should be a good chance for medium-sized guilds to get in on the fight. In addition to that, to further restrict the ability of large alliances to hold multiple castles, we've rebalanced the castle fight times and the capture times. So basically, while you had 45 minutes or so previously to react to a castle attack, you're now down to 10 minutes or so. And that makes it much harder to move your army in response to an attack, meaning if you want to ensure you're holding a castle at a scoring time, you will have to split your forces and making it harder to just put one big Zerg on the map and move it whenever needed. You will have to actually have individual forces, and that again should make it easier for smaller groups to compete if they focus on a single objective. Now, beyond the castles, we're also making some changes to GVG and Crystal Realms. For the GVG, we've consolidated the attack times, meaning we've moved more territories on the same attack timers. And that should make it much harder for the same players to fight in multiple GVG fights in one evening using alt characters, and essentially should make it easier for you to know when you're going to be meeting those teams and make it harder for those teams to project their power over the GVG landscape. In addition to that, we've restricted the mercenary system. Basically, you can no longer invite mercenaries outside your guild for GVG fights, while you can still do that for crystal fights. But for GVG, that means a guild will need to fight its own attacks and its own defenses, and that should make it much more predictable of when you're going to fight extremely strong teams and should make it much harder for these strong teams to project their force over the GVG landscape. So again, making it easier to compete for other teams. Finally, on the Crystal Realm system, we've made a number of changes. We've introduced more tower levels, and we've changed how rewards are being paid out. The additional tower levels simply stretch the matchmaking and put more emphasis on the rewards at the higher end. And the different payout system means that we're putting less emphasis on how many points you scored during the match and put more emphasis on simply winning the match, meaning close matches are still going to be very rewarding, and that should make it much more rewarding for strong teams to fight at high tower levels to get their wins, to get the good rewards, and make it more possible to compete for weaker teams at the lower end to get started into the whole Crystal Realm system and not be as likely to meet extremely strong teams. I hope you're as excited about this new opportunity for guilds to compete in the season, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more players competing and contributing to their guild's success. And I'm very excited about what the outcome of Season 7 is going to be. Now, for the second part of this dev talk, I want to briefly touch on what's coming next to Albion Online. For the most part, we are still following the roadmap that we laid out with the Oberon update. With the Oberon roadmap, we introduced our plan to completely rework the Outlands to fulfill the dream of, for each guild to be able to live in the Outlands by introducing the hideout system and to solve the issues we're having with large alliances dominating the map and leaving very little room for other groups by reworking the world map and the structure of how the world works. We're very deep in planning these changes, and we've begun planning the map, we've begun planning the hideouts. But as we've gone into the planning, we've discovered that there will be a lot of changes needed to really make living in the Outlands a fun and rewarding experience where you can constantly expect action and so on. So we don't want to rush this change. And therefore, we've decided that we're going to be splitting this change into multiple updates. With the focus being of keeping the game fun and entertaining and carefully introducing such a big change and doing it when it's right. So you can basically expect the next update to introduce some of these changes so we can start testing things out, and then the update following to really make the big change and switch over the Outlands to the new version that we proposed in the roadmap. We'll soon be ready to share more details on all these features and on the development of the roadmap, but for now, stay tuned, get ready for GVG Season 7, go out there, craft, trade, and conquer.